afternoon. Thank you, Chancellor Gross and Mr. Myers for being the moderator, and ladies and gentlemen for being here. I appreciate the opportunity to participate in this Commonwealth Court Judicial Forum, and I hope to provide information today as to why this court is central to our freedoms, and what experience it is that ensures the best outcomes to preserve the rights of the people in conflicts with the government and with private interests. I'm the 8th generation of my family to hail from Pennsylvania. The first lived in Buckingham Township before the Revolution. The second lived and died in Philadelphia. The next 5 generations moved to Allegheny City, which was later called Pittsburgh. I'm the first from Johnstown, and I'm here to give you a little information. I'm recommended by the Bar Association. I'm endorsed by the state troopers, the state FOP, the state firefighters, the state troopers, the UMW, the plumbers, and the laborers.
Your time's up. Why do you want to serve on the Commonwealth Court?
Thank you. I've spent 35 years practicing law. I practice law every year in front of the Commonwealth Court. I'm currently a counselor and I handle tax cases in Commonwealth Court. I have handled agency appeals for over 20 years. State agency appeals going to Commonwealth Court. Most of them are settled, but some have to be litigated. This court is the place that protects all people's rights. This is the last safety net we have. We have lost a little bit of diversity geographically. We don't have people from the rural part of the state on the court anymore. And we have lost the legislative experience that was once the strongest part of the court. Ted Doyle was a state representative who became president judge. Jim Kelly was a state senator from Westmoreland. They provided an experience that was necessary to know whether or not constitutional rights have been violated, not just in the enumerating rights, but also in the process rights. We've had 3 cases in Commonwealth Court recently that have had to be decided by the Supreme Court and reversed. Those things should have been taken care of in Commonwealth Court, and they would have been aided by some legislative experience.
Thank you, Mr. Barrett.
Commonwealth Court is the court which will decide important things for people. Number one, they're going to decide what the future of public education is. They're going to decide how health care benefits should be provided and what actions those people providing those services should be required to do if they call themselves a public charity. The special qualifications that I have are 35 years of practice in the Commonwealth Court. I am a litigator. I spent 20 years in private practice, with most of my practice in Commonwealth Court, both original and appellate jurisdiction. I was the state's tax attorney for almost 7 years. I handled matters 16 cases to verdict in Commonwealth Court as the state's tax attorney. I handled 6 in the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. I handled 2 matters in the United States Supreme Court, one involving $700 million potential loss to the Commonwealth. I've served on the Veterans Statewide Justice Task Force, which was appointed by the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. And I have a specialty that no other candidate has, which is a legislative experience which has come from serving on the Judiciary, Environmental and Energy Committee, and Veterans Committee for the last 10 years. I think the court does a very good job of handling original jurisdiction matters. They have a great process of pre-conference working out resolutions. This court resolves all of the appeals from any state agency. And you want to be able to use that sort of process to try to get the cases that really have to be decided, and the other cases settled. One of the weaknesses in the current system, though, is there is a tendency to use too many unpublished decisions. And the problem with that is it creates a problem for people, Because if you're not putting all of the cases that are decided out as published opinions, then the common law that you want your lawyer to know and to be able to pass that along to your clients is cut back by these unpublished decisions not being of precedential value. So I think that's the one area we really should work on. The other thing we could do is get more law schools that are local to work with pro se defendants to make sure they understand their rights in the Commonwealth Court. Well, one of the things that I noticed when I was practicing daily in front of the Commonwealth Court, when I was the state's tax attorney, was they have senior judges that they use to resolve. We have maybe 1,000 tax cases a year when I was in the Attorney General's office. You couldn't litigate 1,000 cases a year. It ended up being about 8 cases a year. But when they would assign a senior judge, Judge Narek used to be assigned. He was a college referee, perfect sort of person to split the difference. But I think what we could do in court is publish more opinions is a good thing. Get more cases settled that are pro se, that's a good thing. Get pro se some kind of counsel. You know, Dickinson is close to Harrisburg, and Widener is close to Harrisburg. Get those people some law clerks to help them resolve their cases. We'd have less cases that needed to be litigated, would allow more published opinions, and we would be handling a part of our docket in Commonwealth Court that would be better used for arguments on the important issues. I think the much better question than whether you elect a judge is whether or not you get the state legislature to finally take up campaign finance reform. We have canons of ethics as an attorney, and we're supervised by the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. We have provisions that say that if you receive a contribution of more than $250, you should consider recusing yourself from an individual. We have rules to handle the situation as it is. But the situation as it is something that no one should be proud of. Campaign finance reform is necessary on all levels of government, whether it's the executive and it's the governor, whether it's the legislature, or whether it's the judiciary. So that's where you make this better. It's a much more important issue to deal with than whether we elect judges.
Representative Barbin, what, in your view, are the most significant recent Commonwealth Court or Pennsylvania Supreme Court decisions, and why?
I tried to get into this in my opening statement, but 1 minute really wasn't enough. The 3 most important cases that have been decided in this Commonwealth came out of Commonwealth Court and were reversed by Pennsylvania Supreme Court. One was the voter ID case. That case should have been thrown out at the first level because it was about taking a requirement which was reasonable on its face, but as applied was a bad way of doing it. Voter ID was 400,000 seniors are going to lose the right to vote because there's a requirement in the law that says you have to have a raised birth certificate seal. People that were over 80 years old were not going to be able to go through the hassle of getting the birth certificate to get the ID, so they basically were saying we're not voting. That's wrong. That violates the constitutional right to free elections. Should have been thrown out at the Commonwealth Court level. Justice Castile cast the deciding vote 4-3 and reversed it. Voter IDs out. Second case, gerrymandering. No more important thing that you have in this Commonwealth than free elections require no gerrymandering. Same thing happened. Last thing happened, fracking. Energy was two subjects put together. Law says on the process you can't do that. They threw it out at the Supreme Court. Thank you. I look at this question a little differently, and the question for me is always, you got to start with the beginning. We're all immigrants. Every single one of them. 9 generations of my family, they're immigrants. They all believe in God. And God gives you the chance, and this is how we got to where we are today, equal dignity under the law. It doesn't matter who you are, you're supposed to be looked at the way God would look at you. If you do, these questions all get resolved. From my perspective, it's much more important for a judge to be able to say, I'm going to follow the law that we got from the Old Testament, because that's how we got here. And that's how we established our laws. They started with religious liberty, they allowed civil liberty. Leviticus 15 says, you shouldn't show partiality to the weak, nor should you show deference to the mighty. The issues are best resolved when you sit there and you have to say, if I believe in God, and I got to explain it to God sitting beside me, how would you decide things? That is what needs to be done in this country. I look at it a little differently. I was the state's tax attorney for 7 years, and I think that when we talk about deference to a state agency, you have to remember that it's in context. The rules are very simple. Before Penn got here, he sent a charge to the legislature. He said 13 words. You shall be governed by laws of your own making and live free. The laws are pretty simple. They're what they are. Whatever is passed by the legislature, signed by the governor, that's the law. The regulations are only valid if the regulations are consistent with the law. When I was young, I learned Commonwealth versus Reeve said a regulation can't be an extra from the law. It can't be in opposition to the law. The only time that happens is with a state agency that says we're gonna make a mistake, and then the mistake is in the favor of the person who brings the case before the court. Deference is only appropriate if it's consistent with the law. We got the greatest system of law the world's ever known. We have to use it, but it has to be consistent with the law, and we have to hold the agency to the law.
Thank you for our.
I have experience in all three branches of government. I was a judicial clerk coming out of law school for the Chief Justice of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. I was a Deputy Attorney General. We had matters in the United States Supreme Court. I spent the last 5 terms in the State House. I've passed 4 bills. I've made some bills a little better, and I've objected when I thought bills were unconstitutional. I have an experience that sets me apart because I believe in the system. I believe the system is missing one thing. It's virtue. Republics, we're a republic. We are required to have virtue in order to make it work. It's what was missing at the end of the Roman Republic. It's missing now. I have a son that taught me what is missing. And this was before Hebrew text was put down in the Torah. This was a symbol to explain what was necessary for government. And what's necessary is, it's not our story. It's God's story. And our part in it is to make sure that we respect the system by loving our neighbor as ourselves. It's also in the Liberty Bell, Leviticus on the Liberty Bell. It's also in the flag that's raised in Iwo Jima. That person is from Johnstown.
Your 60 seconds.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be here tonight and have an opportunity to speak to voters. This is the People's Court. I am proud of all of the generations that have come before me. No one's been powerful, no one's been rich. They did their duty in all things. You can't do more. You don't want to do less. What that means is, God, you're accountable to God. I think with my experience, 35 years, this is a good place to protect people's rights. That's why I'm running for the job. I was a union construction worker. I think that matters. The only guy that really can carry Portland cement or drywall, you need to know what hard work is.
Thank you. Let's